Alright, so I have my picture of Danielle. What I've done is I have made the picture, I've cropped the picture so that I have just her eyes to focus on. I'm going to use that as my resource. Like we talked about yesterday, you are going to be working on toned paper, so I decided to do the demo on toned paper. You want to start with a T. So the T means that it's running right through the nose bridge. If you put your ruler on the top edge of the paper, that makes a 90-degree angle. Now, this guideline is going to be erased, so we don't want to see it in the end, but you need it to start out with. You want to measure tear duct to tear duct. So one thing that's nice about the photo is I can still use that same idea. If I'm not wanting to hand it like that, I can put it down so it's an inch. So that means that I have a 1/2 inch on the left and I have a 1/2 inch on the right. So remember that this spacing right here gives us the size of the eyes. If I want to make the face larger, then I make this space larger, which then makes the eyes larger as well. So I'm putting my guidelines down, and that tells me approximately where my eyes are going to be. We talked about the iris. The iris, if you see the iris, the full iris, it is a circle. And if you're having trouble drawing the circle, you can use the template. Most of the time what happens is if you're right-handed, your right side may be slightly larger. So you'll notice I'm taking the ruler and I'm just trying to get myself the same height. And then that way I can place that circle in at the same size as the other one. Again, if you're having trouble drawing the circles, then use the template and make it easier. Alright, so I have my two irises. I'm going to put my pupil in. Now, looking at the picture that I currently have, her pupil is more centered this time. It's not at the top because I'm not standing above her. And it takes up a large part of the eye. So I'm actually making that pupil a little bit bigger because the eyelid's going to go over it. Alright, so my eyelid is going slightly over the top. And then it's coming slightly over the bottom. Her eyes are slimmer, and this is one of the things when people are drawing, they tend to have the eyes open too much. So the white of my eye stops there. It's almost like a triangular shape. And then I have my tear duct. And her tear duct is a very soft, what I would call a very soft C. So I've got the right eye laid in. The crease, everybody's crease is different. You need to look at the size. Hers is spaced about the same on the curve. So this would be like the eye socket that the eye is sitting into. So I want to do the same thing on the other side again. Sometimes it helps. Put the ruler on the edge so you have a 90-degree angle, and that will help you keep the eyes to be the same size. So that shows me again where the eye is overlapping. So it's overlapping slightly on the top and slightly on the bottom. Now, even our tear ducts can be slightly different in size and shape. So we need to, just keep that in mind while you're drawing. The upper eyelid and the lower eyelid are different in the sense that the lower eyelid is going underneath. Same thing here. You can see the crease. Okay, so now that I've drawn those, you can see that my pupils are not even. I'm going to go back in, redraw this pupil, so I can start shading. Alright, so I'm going to get rid of my guidelines. I don't want my guidelines going through. If you need a eraser with a point on it, just ask. So I have some highlights. The highlights can be done different ways. We can do the highlights with a white gel pen. We can do the highlights with white charcoal. But all eyes have highlights. The highlights are important. Again, I said it the other day, it helps you to see the soul of the person. So say for instance that you forget to put in your highlights, then like I said, you can go back in with a gel pen and that will bring in the highlights. If you need value, you can put the charcoal on another piece of paper, pick up the value from the blending stump, notice where the lights and the darks are as far as most of us have the darker ring on the outside. And depending on some people they're little kind of like line work inside the eyes show a lot. Some people they don't show as much. Obviously she has a little bit more darkness towards the top because that's where the upper eyelid is. So I'm going to go over the eyelid. This eyelid's always going to be darker because it's not getting as much light. You do not want to do the eyelashes or any final details until the very end. So I'm going to start on the other one. Remember that your highlights are going to go in the same spot. I'm going to come back with white charcoal. To fill in my highlights more. With a blending stump, or they're called a tortillon, but with this it's going to get graphite on it, and so you can sometimes it'll get too much and you'll need one that's a little cleaner to go with the one that has more value on it. Okay, so I went and got a white charcoal pencil so that I could start putting in a little white of the eyes. The white of the eyes, they are not they're not dark, but they're not pure white. So you want to make sure when you put the white of the eye in that you also add the value that you see on the eye. In the tear duct area, it also is a very soft value. So let's say for instance that you get too much value in it. All you have to do is just take the eraser and just kind of tap it, and that'll help pull up some of the charcoal off of the paper.